Marcus Wellington found his 17-year-old daughter eating scraps from a dog bowl. He stood frozen in the doorway of the basement, still wearing his $1,000 suit from the plane, watching Zara kneel on the concrete floor like an animal. Her beautiful dark skin was pale and thin. Her school uniform was dirty and torn. Her hands shook as she tried to eat cold rice with her fingers because Victoria had taken away her right to use forks. Zara? His voice cracked like he was the teenager. She looked up, and Marcus saw something in his daughter's eyes that made his heart shatter into a million pieces. Fear. His own daughter was afraid of him. "Daddy?" she whispered, dropping the bowl. Rice scattered across the floor. You're home early." Marcus looked around the basement room that had become his daughter's prison. A thin mattress on the floor, a bucket in the corner, concrete walls covered in what looked like scratch marks, like Zara had been clawing at them with her fingernails, trying to escape. "What?" Marcus's voice failed him. He tried again. "What is this place?" "My room," Zara said quietly, like it was the most normal thing in the world. Victoria said I needed to learn gratitude. She said you wanted me to live like this until I understood how lucky I was before. I never... Marcus couldn't finish the sentence. The words wouldn't come. His wife had turned his daughter into a prisoner in her own home, and he'd been 3,000 miles away, closing business deals, while it happened. "Victoria said you knew," Zara continued, her voice getting smaller and smaller. "She said you told her to do this. She said you were tired of having a spoiled daughter who never appreciated anything." Marcus dropped to his knees on the concrete, pulling Zara into his arms. She felt so thin, so fragile, like she might break if he held her too tight. "No, baby girl. No, no, no. I never said that. I would never say that." "Then why didn't you come home when I called?" Zara's voice was muffled against his chest. "I called you every night for 2 weeks. Victoria always answered and said you were too busy to talk to me. She said you told her I was bothering you." Marcus felt something cold and murderous growing in his chest. Victoria had been blocking his daughter's calls. For 2 weeks, Zara had been trapped down here, and Victoria had made sure he never knew. "I never got your calls, sweetheart. I tried calling you every day, but Victoria said you were busy with school and friends. She said you were having the best time." Zara pulled back to look at him, and Marcus saw the truth written across her face. Victoria had isolated them from each other completely. "Daddy, she made me sign papers," Zara whispered. "She said if I ever told you the truth about what was happening, she'd have me put in a mental hospital. She said she had doctors who would say I was crazy, and you'd never see me again." "What papers?" "Confession papers, saying I was using drugs and being violent and destroying the house. She made me write letters to you saying I was sorry for being a bad daughter and I deserved to be punished." Marcus's hands were shaking now. "Show me." Zara crawled over to a corner of the basement room and pulled out a manila folder hidden under her thin mattress. Inside were dozens of handwritten letters in Zara's neat script, all saying terrible things about herself, all confessing to crimes she'd never committed. And at the bottom of the folder was something that made Marcus's blood turn to ice. A will, Zara's will, written in her own handwriting, saying that if anything ever happened to her, it was because she was mentally ill and suicidal, and no one should blame Victoria. "She made me write this last week," Zara said, seeing what he was looking at. "She said it was just in case I ever tried to hurt myself. But Daddy, I think she's planning to kill me." Marcus stared at the will, at his daughter's signature at the bottom, and felt the last pieces of his sanity slip away. His wife hadn't just abused his daughter. She'd been preparing to murder her. "Pack your things," Marcus said, his voice deadly calm. "We're leaving, right now." "I can't," Zara said quickly. "Victoria has cameras everywhere. She'll know I told you. She said if I ever..." "Victoria is not here," Marcus cut her off. "Victoria will never hurt you again." "Where is she?" Marcus smiled, and it was the coldest, most terrifying smile Zara had ever seen. "Victoria is upstairs," he said quietly, "waiting for me to come home. She doesn't know I found you first." He helped Zara to her feet, his mind already working through what he was going to do next. Victoria thought she was so smart. She thought she'd broken his daughter completely, turned her into a scared little mouse who would never dare to tell the truth. She thought she'd won. But Victoria had made one critical mistake. She'd hurt Marcus Wellington's baby girl, and now she was going to learn what happened to people who declared war on his family. "Daddy," Zara's small voice broke through his thoughts. "What are you going to do to Victoria?" Marcus looked down at his daughter, this brilliant, brave, beautiful girl who'd survived 2 weeks of hell and still had the strength to worry about other people. "I'm going to destroy her," he said simply, "completely. And then I'm going to make sure she never hurts another child for the rest of her life." As they walked toward the basement stairs, Zara's hand in his, Marcus could hear Victoria's voice drifting down from the kitchen above. She was on the phone, talking to someone in that sweet, fake voice she used when she was lying. "No, Marcus doesn't suspect anything," she was saying. "Zara's been the perfect victim. By the time he figures out what's happening, it'll be too late for both of them." Marcus squeezed Zara's hand and smiled. Victoria was wrong about that. It was already too late. But not for them, for her. 3 weeks earlier, Zara Wellington had always known she was different from her stepmother Victoria, but she never thought that difference would cost her everything. She sat at the breakfast table in the morning sunlight, her dark skin glowing against the white marble of their massive kitchen. Her father Marcus was reading the Wall Street Journal, his coffee steaming beside a plate of fresh croissants their chef had made from scratch. "Dad, don't forget about my debate tournament next Friday," Zara said, spreading strawberry jam on her toast. "I'm arguing for the winning side, and the whole school will be there." Marcus looked up from his paper, his face lighting up the way it always did when Zara talked about school. "Wouldn't miss it for the world, baby girl." "What's the topic?" "Economic inequality in America. I get to argue for why billionaires should pay higher taxes." She grinned at him. "Hope you don't mind." "You better win," Marcus laughed, reaching over to ruffle her curly hair. "I didn't raise a daughter who backs down from a fight." That's when Victoria walked in. Victoria Wellington was the kind of beautiful that stopped traffic. Tall, blonde, with ice blue eyes and a smile that could sell diamonds. She moved like she owned every room she entered, and in most cases she did. But when she looked at Zara, that smile never quite reached her eyes. "Good morning, family," Victoria said, her voice honey-sweet. She kissed Marcus on the cheek and poured herself coffee from their expensive machine. "Marcus, darling, I need to talk to you about the household budget." "What about it?" "Well," Victoria glanced at Zara, then back at Marcus. "I've been thinking we could save money by letting some of the staff go. Maybe Zara could help out more around the house. Build character." Zara looked up from her toast, confused. They had enough money to buy a small country, and Victoria wanted to fire people to save money? "Victoria, we don't need to save money," Marcus said slowly. "And Zara's got school. Her grades are perfect, and she's got early admission to Harvard locked up. I want her focused on that." Of course, of course." Victoria's smile got tighter. "I just think it's important for children to learn responsibility, even privileged children." The way she said privileged made Zara's skin crawl. Marcus folded his newspaper and checked his Rolex. "Speaking of responsibility, I've got that business trip to Japan next week. 3 weeks, maybe 4 if the deals take longer than expected." Zara felt her stomach drop. Her father traveled for business sometimes, but never for more than a few days. 3 weeks felt like forever. "Don't worry, darling," Victoria said, wrapping her arms around Marcus from behind. "Zara and I will have plenty of time to bond. Won't we, sweetheart?" The way Victoria looked at her made Zara want to run upstairs and lock her bedroom door. "I'll miss you, Dad," Zara said quietly. "I'll miss you too, baby girl. But Victoria will take good care of you. Right, honey?"
Absolutely, Victoria Purred.
Zara won't want for anything. That night, as Marcus packed his suitcase, Zara knocked on his bedroom door. "Come in, sweetheart." She found him folding his favorite ties, the ones she'd helped him pick out for Christmas. His room was huge, with floor-to-ceiling windows that looked out over their pool and the city lights beyond. "Dad, do I have to stay here while you're gone? I could stay with Grandma Rose, or maybe with Jessica's family." Marcus stopped packing and sat on the edge of his king-sized bed. "Why would you want to do that? This is your home, Zara." "I know, but Victoria and I don't really—" "Hey!" Marcus pulled her down to sit beside him. "I know Victoria can be a little intense sometimes, but she's your stepmother, and this is her home too. You two just need time to get to know each other better." Zara wanted to tell him about the looks Victoria gave her when he wasn't watching, about how Victoria's voice changed when they were alone, about how she felt like an intruder in her own house whenever her father left for more than a few hours. But looking at her dad's tired face, she couldn't bring herself to add more stress to his life. "Okay, Dad, I'll try harder. That's my girl." He kissed the top of her head. "Victoria loves you, Zara. Sometimes adults show love in weird ways, but she wants what's best for you. Trust me." The next morning, Marcus left for the airport at 5 a.m. Zara heard his car pull out of the driveway and felt like her last line of defense had just disappeared. She was wrong. Victoria had been planning this for months. At exactly 6 a.m., Victoria knocked on Zara's bedroom door. Not a gentle knock, sharp, demanding raps that sounded more like a police raid than a stepmother checking on her stepdaughter. "Zara, get up. We need to talk." Zara stumbled out of bed, still in her pajamas. When she opened the door, Victoria was standing there fully dressed in a crisp white blouse and black slacks, looking like she was about to conduct a business meeting. "Get dressed. Meet me in the kitchen in 10 minutes. We're going to discuss some new rules." "Rules?" "10 minutes, Zara. Don't be late." Zara threw on jeans and a t-shirt and ran downstairs, her heart pounding for reasons she couldn't name. Victoria was sitting at the kitchen island with a yellow legal pad covered in neat handwriting. "Sit," Victoria said, not looking up. Zara sat. "Your father spoils you," Victoria began, her voice cold and businesslike. "He's given you everything you've ever wanted, and you've never had to work for anything in your life. That changes now. I work hard at school. I'm not talking about school. I'm talking about real work, contributing to this household instead of just taking from it." Victoria slid the legal pad across the marble countertop. Zara's eyes widened as she read the list. New house rules for Zara. Wake up at 5:30 a.m. every day. Clean the kitchen after every meal. Do your own laundry. Vacuum the living room and dining room daily. No friends over without permission. No leaving the house without permission. Curfew. 6 p.m. on weekdays, 8 p.m. on weekends. No expensive food requests, eat what's provided. "This is crazy," Zara whispered. "Dad would never." "Your father isn't here," Victoria cut her off. "And when he gets back, he'll see how much you've grown as a person, how much more mature and responsible you've become. These aren't rules, they're punishments." "What did I do wrong?" Victoria's ice blue eyes narrowed. "You exist, Zara. In my house, eating my food, using my electricity, breathing my air. You've never paid for any of it. Your father works himself to death to keep you in designer clothes and private schools. And what do you give back? Nothing." Zara felt tears burning behind her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. "This is my house too. Dad built it for both of us." "Did he?" Victoria stood up, towering over Zara. "Because last time I checked, your name isn't on the deed. Last time I checked, I'm his wife, not you." The words hit Zara like a physical blow. "Here's what's going to happen," Victoria continued. "You're going to follow these rules exactly. You're going to show me the respect I deserve as the lady of this house. And if you so much as think about calling your father and crying to him about any of this, I will make your life hell in ways you can't even imagine. You can't threaten me." Victoria laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Oh, sweetheart, I'm not threatening you. I'm educating you. You see, your father loves me. He married me. He trusts me. And if I tell him you've been disrespectful, ungrateful, and acting out while he's gone, well, who do you think he'll believe?" Zara's blood turned to ice. "Now," Victoria said, checking her diamond watch. "You have exactly 1 hour to clean this entire kitchen until it sparkles. I'm going to my yoga class, and when I get back, I want to be able to eat off these counters." She grabbed her purse and headed for the door, then turned back with that terrible smile. "Oh, and Zara? Welcome to the real world." The front door slammed, and Zara was alone. She stood in the massive kitchen, surrounded by marble and stainless steel and crystal, and felt smaller than she ever had in her life. But she had no idea how much smaller Victoria planned to make her feel. As Zara started scrubbing the already clean counters, she didn't notice Victoria's car still sitting in the driveway. She didn't see Victoria watching through the window, taking photos with her phone. She didn't know that Victoria had already started building the case that would destroy her. And she definitely didn't know about the conversation Victoria had with Marcus's business partner the night before. The one where she'd started planting seeds about Zara's behavioral problems and how worried she was about leaving Marcus alone with such a troubled teenager. Victoria had been planning this for months, but Marcus Wellington hadn't built a billion-dollar empire by being stupid, and he was about to find out exactly what his wife had been doing to his daughter. The question was, would he find out before Victoria destroyed Zara completely? Because Victoria's plans went much deeper than house rules and kitchen duty. Victoria's plans would put Zara in the basement. And once Zara was in the basement, Victoria planned to make sure she never came back up. 3 days into Marcus's trip, Zara's hands were raw from scrubbing. She knelt on the cold marble floor of the kitchen at 5:45 a.m., cleaning the same spot for the third time. Victoria had found a water stain on the cabinet and made Zara start over completely. Again. "I can still see it," Victoria said, standing over her in a silk robe and designer slippers. "Maybe you're not as smart as your father thinks you are." Zara bit her tongue and kept scrubbing. She'd learned not to talk back. The first time she tried to defend herself, Victoria had taken her phone away for 2 days. The second time, Victoria had called the private school and told them Zara was going through a difficult phase at home and might need extra attention. The humiliation had been unbearable. When you're done with that, the guest bathrooms need deep cleaning. All 6 of them. Victoria poured herself coffee from the machine that Zara wasn't allowed to use anymore. "Oh, and Zara? Your friend Jessica called yesterday. I told her you were busy and couldn't be bothered with social calls." Zara's head snapped up. "Jessica's my best friend. We were supposed to study together for our AP history test." "Were you? How unfortunate." Victoria's smile was razor sharp. "Perhaps if you managed your time better, you'd have room for friends. But right now, this family needs to see some responsibility from you." "This isn't about responsibility," Zara whispered. "This is about you hating me." The coffee mug slammed down so hard it cracked. Victoria was across the room and grabbing Zara's arm before she could blink, her manicured nails digging into Zara's skin like claws. "Listen to me very carefully," Victoria hissed, her face inches from Zara's. "I don't hate you, you little brat. I hate what you represent. I hate that your father looks at you and sees some perfect princess who can do no wrong. I hate that you walk around this house like you own it when you contribute nothing. Nothing." Zara tried to pull away, but Victoria's grip tightened. "Your father sees you as his precious baby girl, but I see you for what you really are. A spoiled, ungrateful teenager who's never worked a day in her life. And before he gets back from Japan, you're going to learn your place in this family." "My place?" Zara's voice cracked. "I'm his daughter." "You're his daughter," Victoria agreed, finally letting go. "But I'm his wife, and wives last forever, sweetheart. Daughters grow up and move away." Victoria smoothed her silk robe and picked up her cracked coffee mug like nothing had happened. 6 bathrooms, Zara. By noon. Or you'll be doing them again tomorrow." She walked out, leaving Zara alone with her burning arm and the terrible understanding that this was only the beginning. But Zara had no idea how right she was. That afternoon, while Zara scrubbed toilet after toilet until her knees bled through her jeans, Victoria was in Marcus's home office making phone calls. The first call was to Dr. Patricia Hawthorne, a family therapist who specialized in troubled teens. "Dr. Hawthorne, this is Victoria Wellington. Yes, Marcus Wellington's wife. I'm calling because I'm very concerned about my stepdaughter, Zara. She's been acting out terribly since her father left for his business trip. Victoria's voice was perfect. Worried, loving, just the right amount of maternal concern. She's become increasingly defiant and aggressive. Just this morning, she screamed at me and threw things when I asked her to help with simple household chores. I'm worried she might be having some kind of psychological break. On the other end of the line, Dr. Hawthorne made sympathetic noises and offered to see Zara immediately. That would be wonderful, Victoria purred. I just want what's best for her. Her father works so hard, and I hate to worry him while he's trying to close these important deals in Japan. The second call was to Marcus's sister, Carol, who lived in San Francisco. Carol, it's Victoria. I hope I'm not calling too late. I'm just so worried about Zara. She's been having such a hard time since Marcus left. Victoria had always known that Carol didn't particularly like her, but she also knew that Carol loved her brother and would do anything to help his daughter. She's been so angry, Carol, lashing out at me, refusing to follow even basic house rules. I found drugs in her backpack yesterday. This was a lie. Victoria had planted a small bag of oregano in Zara's school bag, then discovered it during a routine check she'd made Zara submit to. I don't want to tell Marcus while he's working so hard overseas, but I'm scared she might hurt herself. Or me. Carol's shocked voice came through the phone, exactly as Victoria had hoped. The third call was the most important one. Marcus's business partner and best friend, Robert Kim, was the one person whose opinion Marcus valued above all others. If Robert thought something was wrong with Zara, Marcus would listen. Robert, I hate to bother you, but I need advice. It's about Zara. Victoria had practiced this conversation in the mirror for weeks, perfecting the exact tone of a concerned stepmother at her wit's end. She's been having serious behavioral problems since Marcus left. Violent outbursts, destroying property, staying out all night. I'm honestly afraid of her. That doesn't sound like Zara, Robert said slowly. She's always been such a good kid. That's what makes this so heartbreaking, Victoria said, letting her voice break just slightly. I think she resents me for marrying her father, and she's taking it out on everyone. Just yesterday, she threw a vase at my head and called me, well, I can't repeat what she called me. Another lie. Victoria had broken the vase herself and hidden the pieces in Zara's closet. I don't know what to do, Robert. Marcus thinks the world of her, and I don't want to shatter his image of his perfect daughter. But I can't live in fear in my own home. By the time Victoria hung up, she had 3 powerful allies who all believed that Zara Wellington was a troubled, dangerous teenager having a psychological breakdown, and she was just getting started. That evening, Victoria called Zara into the living room. Zara came downstairs exhausted, her clothes stained with cleaning chemicals, her hands cracked and bleeding. Sit, Victoria said, not looking up from her laptop. Zara collapsed onto the white leather couch, too tired to care that she might stain it. I've been thinking about your attitude problem, Victoria said conversationally, and I've decided you need professional help. What? I've made you an appointment with Dr. Hawthorne tomorrow. She specializes in teenagers with behavioral issues. I don't have behavioral issues. Victoria finally looked up, her ice blue eyes glittering with satisfaction. Don't you? Because from where I'm sitting, you've been nothing but defiant and aggressive since your father left. Screaming, throwing things, destroying property. I never did any of those things. Really? Then how do you explain this? Victoria turned her laptop screen toward Zara. On it was a photo of the broken vase pieces, clearly taken in Zara's bedroom. Below it was another photo of the oregano bag, also in Zara's room. I took these photos this morning during a routine safety check of your room. Imagine my shock. Zara's mouth fell open. You put those things there. You planted them. Did I? Can you prove that? The oregano isn't even drugs. Anyone can see that. Victoria smiled. Can they? Because it looks like marijuana to me, and to Dr. Hawthorne, and to your Aunt Carol, who I had to call when I found it. Zara felt the room spinning around her. You called Aunt Carol? Of course I did. I'm worried about you, sweetheart. Your family is worried about you. We all want to help. By lying about me, by getting you the help you clearly need. Victoria closed the laptop with a soft click. Now you have two choices. You can go to your appointment tomorrow and work with Dr. Hawthorne to address your behavioral problems. Or I can call your father right now and tell him his daughter has become a drug-using, violent teenager who needs immediate intervention. Zara stared at her stepmother in horror. Victoria had built the perfect trap. No matter what Zara said or did, it would look like the desperate lies of a troubled kid trying to avoid consequences. Why are you doing this to me? I'm not doing anything to you, Zara. I'm doing something for you, and for this family. Victoria stood up, smoothing her designer dress. Your father deserves a peaceful home when he returns from his business trip, not chaos and drama from an ungrateful teenager. He won't believe you. He knows me. Does he? Victoria tilted her head, studying Zara like a bug under glass. Because from what I can see, your father works 18 hours a day and travels constantly for business. When was the last time you two had a real conversation? When was the last time he was home for dinner 3 nights in a row? Zara's silence was answer enough. He loves you, Zara, but he doesn't know you. Not really. And when he gets back and I show him the photos, the therapy reports, the testimony from his own sister and best friend, well, he'll have to face the truth about who his little girl has become. Victoria started walking toward the stairs, then turned back. Oh, and Zara? I'm having new locks installed on the kitchen and pantry tomorrow, since you clearly can't be trusted not to steal food for your drug habit. I don't have a drug habit, don't you? Because I have photos that say otherwise. And soon I'll have a therapist's report to back them up. Victoria climbed the stairs, leaving Zara alone in the massive living room that suddenly felt like a prison. Zara pulled out her phone to call her father, then stopped. It was 3 a.m. in Tokyo. He'd be sleeping before the biggest meeting of his life. And what would she say? That her stepmother was framing her with fake evidence and forcing her into therapy? It sounded crazy even to her. She tried calling Jessica instead, but the call went straight to voicemail. Victoria had probably told Jessica's parents that Zara was going through a difficult phase and wasn't allowed to have friends over. Zara was completely alone. But she had no idea how alone she was about to become. Because tomorrow, Victoria would take her to Dr. Hawthorne, who would ask leading questions designed to make Zara sound unstable. Victoria would sit in the waiting room, playing the role of the concerned stepmother, while Dr. Hawthorne wrote a report recommending immediate intensive intervention. And the day after that, Victoria would make her next move. The move that would put Zara exactly where Victoria wanted her. In the basement. As Zara finally climbed the stairs to her bedroom, she didn't know that Victoria was watching from the shadows, a satisfied smile on her perfect face. She also didn't know that Victoria had already prepared the basement room, a small, windowless space behind the laundry room that the previous owners had used for storage. Victoria had cleaned it out, put in a narrow cot, and installed a deadbolt on the outside of the door. Tomorrow night, Victoria would tell Zara that her behavioral problems had gotten so severe that she was no longer safe sleeping in the main house. For her own good, of course, and for the good of the family. But there was one thing Victoria didn't know. Mrs. Chun, the head housekeeper, had been working for Marcus Wellington for 15 years. She'd helped raise Zara from a little girl. She'd seen Victoria's true face from day one. And Mrs. Chun had been watching, taking notes, keeping evidence. Because Mrs. Chun knew that sooner or later, Marcus Wellington would come home. And when he did, she'd be ready to tell him everything. The question was, would Zara survive long enough for her father to save her? Dr. Patricia Hawthorne's office smelled like vanilla candles and lies. Zara sat on the plush burgundy couch, her hands folded in her lap, while the therapist scribbled notes on a yellow pad. Victoria sat in the corner chair, playing the role of concerned stepmother perfectly, worried frown, tissue ready, occasionally dabbing at dry eyes. Tell me about your relationship with your stepmother, Zara, Dr. Hawthorne said in that fake gentle voice all therapists seem to learn in school. She hates me. Dr. Hawthorne glanced at Victoria, who gave a sad, knowing nod like she'd expected this response. Why do you think Victoria hates you? Because she does. She makes me clean the house like a servant. She took my phone away. She planted drugs in my room and told everyone I'm violent. More scribbling. More meaningful looks between the two adults. These are serious accusations, Zara. Can you give me specific examples of when Victoria has been unfair to you? Zara launched into the whole story. The impossible cleaning schedules, the threats, the lies Victoria had told her family. With each word, Dr. Hawthorne's expression grew more concerned. But not concerned for Zara. Concerned about Zara. I see, Dr. Hawthorne said when Zara finished. And how did these conflicts make you feel? Angry. Of course I felt angry. Angry enough to throw things? I never threw anything. Angry enough to use substances to cope? I don't use drugs. Dr. Hawthorne set down her pen and leaned forward with that practiced look of understanding that made Zara's skin crawl. Zara, it's very common for teenagers to create elaborate stories when they're struggling with difficult emotions. The important thing is that we're here to help you process these feelings in healthier ways. I'm not making up stories. Of course not, Dr. Hawthorne soothed. You're telling me your truth, but sometimes our truth gets colored by our emotions, especially when we're feeling overwhelmed. Zara looked desperately at Victoria, hoping to see some crack in her mask, some hint of conscience. Instead, Victoria reached over and patted Zara's hand. Sweetheart, Dr. Hawthorne is trying to help you. We all are. The session lasted an hour. By the end of it, Dr. Hawthorne had filled 6 pages with notes about Zara's delusional thinking, anger management issues, and possible substance abuse problems. She recommended immediate, intensive intervention. In the car ride home, Victoria hummed softly to herself, a tune that sounded like a victory song. I'm proud of you for opening up to Dr. Hawthorne, she said as they pulled into their circular driveway. It's the first step toward getting the help you need. I told her the truth. You told her your version of events. That's a start. That night, Zara called her father from her bedroom. It was early morning in Tokyo, and Marcus sounded tired but happy to hear from her. How's my baby girl? Dad, I need to come home. You are home, sweetheart. I mean really home. Can I stay with Grandma Rose until you get back? Please. There was a pause on the other end of the line. Zara, what's going on? Victoria said you've been having a hard time adjusting. Zara's heart sank. Victoria had already gotten to him. Dad, she's lying. She's making me clean the house all day, and she planted drugs in my room, and she's telling everyone I'm crazy. Whoa, slow down. Marcus's voice was gentle but firm. That's a pretty serious accusation, Zara. Are you sure you're not just feeling overwhelmed? Victoria said you saw a therapist today. She forced me to see a therapist. Dad, please, you have to believe me. I believe that you're upset. But honey, Victoria loves you. She wouldn't hurt you. And I can't have you staying somewhere else just because you're having trouble getting along with your stepmother. Zara felt her world crumbling. Dad, Zara, I need you to try harder. For me, can you do that? She wanted to scream. She wanted to throw the phone across the room. Instead, she whispered, Yes, Dad, that's my girl. I love you, and I'll be home soon. Everything's going to be okay. But everything was not going to be okay. An hour after Zara hung up, Victoria knocked on her bedroom door. Pack a bag, sweetheart. Just the essentials. Why? Victoria stepped into the room, and for the first time, she wasn't bothering to hide her true face. Her smile was cold and sharp as a blade. Dr. Hawthorne called. She's very concerned about your mental state. She thinks you might be a danger to yourself. Or to me. That's insane. Is it? Because you've been making wild accusations, talking about planted evidence, claiming I'm trying to hurt you. Those are signs of serious psychological disturbance. Zara. Victoria walked to Zara's closet and started pulling out clothes. Old t-shirts, worn jeans, nothing nice. So we've decided it's best if you sleep somewhere else until your father gets home. Somewhere where you can't hurt anyone. Zara's blood turned to ice. Where? Downstairs. There's a perfectly good room behind the laundry area. It's quiet, private. Good for recovery. The basement? You want me to sleep in the basement? I want you to get better, Victoria said, shoving clothes into a plastic garbage bag. And sometimes getting better requires sacrifices. I won't do it. Victoria turned around slowly, and the look in her eyes made Zara step backward. You will, because if you don't, I'm calling your father right now and telling him that his daughter has become so unstable that I'm afraid she might burn the house down. I'm telling him that Dr. Hawthorne recommended immediate psychiatric hospitalization. He won't believe you, won't he? I have a therapist's report backing me up. I have photos of drugs in your room. I have your own aunt on record saying she's worried about your behavior.
Victoria stepped closer.
What do you have, Zara? The word of a troubled teenager who everyone knows is having a breakdown. Zara realized she was trapped. Completely, utterly trapped. How long? She whispered. Until your father comes home and sees how much you've improved. How much more grateful and humble you've become. Victoria finished packing the garbage bag and handed it to Zara like a gift. Come on, let me show you to your new room. The basement wasn't really a basement. It was more like a lower level that opened onto the back patio. But the room Victoria had prepared for Zara was in the farthest, darkest corner, behind the industrial laundry machines and next to the water heater. It had no windows. The walls were bare concrete. There was a narrow cot with thin sheets, a plastic bucket in the corner, and a single bare light bulb hanging from the ceiling. I've had meals arranged, Victoria said cheerfully, as if she were showing off a luxury hotel room. Mrs. Chun will bring you breakfast at 7, lunch at noon, and dinner at 6. You'll eat what you're given, when you're given it. This is abuse, Zara said, her voice barely a whisper. This is treatment, Victoria corrected. Dr. Hawthorne specifically recommended isolation therapy for patients with your issues. Victoria walked to the door, then turned back with that terrible smile. Oh, and Zara? The door locks from the outside, for everyone's safety. You can't lock me in here. I can, and I will. Your father gave me full authority to make decisions about your welfare while he's gone. This is what's best for you. Victoria stepped out and closed the door. Zara heard the deadbolt slide into place with a sound like a coffin closing. She was alone in the dark, but she wasn't as alone as she thought. 3 floors up, Mrs. Chun was standing in the kitchen with her hands shaking and her heart breaking. She'd heard everything, seen everything. Victoria had sent her home early, but Mrs. Chun had hidden her car around the corner and snuck back through the service entrance. She'd watched Victoria force Zara into that horrible room. She'd heard the lock turn, and now she was going to do something about it. Mrs. Chun pulled out her phone and scrolled to Marcus Wellington's number. Her hands were trembling so hard she could barely dial. It rang 4 times before his sleepy voice answered. Hello, Mr. Wellington. This is Mrs. Chun. I'm sorry to call so late, but there's an emergency. What kind of emergency? Is Zara okay? Mrs. Chun closed her eyes and thought about the sweet little girl she'd helped raise, now locked in a basement room like a prisoner. No, sir. Miss Zara is not okay, and you need to come home right now. But even as she spoke, Mrs. Chun could hear Victoria's footsteps on the stairs above her. Victoria was coming back up from the basement, probably to celebrate her victory with a glass of wine. Mrs. Chun had to get out of the house before Victoria caught her. I can't talk now, she whispered into the phone. But Mr. Wellington, you need to know. Your wife has locked your daughter in the basement. She's telling everyone that Miss Zara is crazy, but it's not true. None of it is true. What are you talking about? Mrs. Wellington has been planning this for weeks. She planted evidence, lied to doctors, turned everyone against Miss Zara. And now she has that poor child locked up like an animal. Mrs. Chun could hear Victoria's voice getting closer. She had to go. I have proof, she said quickly. Photos, recordings, everything. But you need to come home before something terrible happens to your daughter. She hung up and slipped out the back door just as Victoria's heels clicked into the kitchen. In Tokyo, Marcus Wellington stood in his hotel room at 4 a.m., staring at his phone like it had just exploded in his hand. Mrs. Chun had worked for his family for 15 years. She'd never lied to him about anything, but what she was telling him seemed impossible. Victoria, his beautiful, sophisticated wife who'd promised to take care of Zara, the woman he'd fallen in love with because she seemed so kind, so maternal? His phone buzzed with a text message from an unknown number. Check your email. The truth about what's happening to your daughter. A friend. With shaking hands, Marcus opened his email. There were dozens of photos and video files from Mrs. Chen's phone. Victoria forcing Zara to scrub floors until her hands bled. Victoria planting the oregano in Zara's backpack. Victoria breaking the vase and hiding the pieces in Zara's closet. And finally, a video taken just an hour ago of Victoria shoving Zara into that basement room and turning the lock. Marcus dropped his phone and ran for his suitcase. But in the basement of his mansion, Zara didn't know help was coming. She sat on the narrow cot in the darkness, listening to the water heater hum and the laundry machine spin, and wondered if this was how her life was going to end. Forgotten, alone, buried alive in her own home. She had no idea that 3,000 miles away, her father was chartering the fastest private jet he could find. She had no idea that Mrs. Chun was driving through the night to her sister's house, where she'd be safe until Marcus returned. And she definitely had no idea that Victoria had made one critical mistake. Victoria thought she'd won. But Marcus Wellington hadn't built an empire by giving up when things got difficult. And he was about to show Victoria exactly what happened to people who hurt his little girl. The question was, would he make it home before Victoria decided that locking Zara up wasn't enough? Because Victoria had one more plan. One final solution to her Zara problem. And it didn't involve Zara ever leaving that basement room alive. Marcus Wellington's private jet cut through the darkness at 600 miles per hour, but it wasn't fast enough. Not nearly fast enough. He sat in the leather seat, his laptop open, watching Mrs. Chen's videos over and over again. Each time he saw Victoria shove his daughter into that basement room, his hands clenched tighter around his phone. 15 hours. That's how long it would take to get from Tokyo to Los Angeles, even on the fastest jet money could buy. 15 hours while his baby girl was locked in a basement. Marcus pulled up Victoria's number and called her for the 10th time since leaving Tokyo. It went straight to voicemail just like the others. Victoria, it's Marcus. Call me back immediately. We need to talk about Zara. He'd started with polite messages. Now his voice was ice-cold fury barely held in check. But Victoria wasn't answering her phone because Victoria was busy. She was standing in her walk-in closet, packing suitcases and planning her escape. Because Victoria Wellington was many things. Cruel, manipulative, evil. But she wasn't stupid. She knew that sooner or later, someone would tell Marcus the truth. She'd hoped to have more time, maybe weeks to break Zara completely and build an even stronger case for the girl's mental illness. But Mrs. Chun had ruined everything. Victoria had found the kitchen door unlocked when she came back upstairs from the basement. At first, she'd thought she'd forgotten to lock it herself. But then she'd checked the security cameras and seen Mrs. Chen's car driving away at 2 a.m. The nosy old woman had been spying on her. Victoria had immediately called Dr. Hawthorne, spinning a story about Zara's violent episode, escalating, and the housekeeper being too frightened to stay in the house. She'd gotten Dr. Hawthorne to sign emergency commitment papers, legal documents that would allow Victoria to have Zara taken to a psychiatric facility against her will. All she had to do was make one phone call, and men in white coats would come take Zara away forever. Marcus would never find her in the maze of the mental health system, especially if Victoria told them that Zara was dangerous, that she'd attacked her stepmother and needed to be kept sedated for everyone's safety. But first, Victoria needed to cover her tracks. She grabbed her jewelry box and started throwing diamonds into her purse. Marcus's credit cards, the ones with her name on them, cash from the house safe, her passport. If everything went according to plan, she'd be on a plane to Switzerland by tomorrow night, $50 million richer thanks to the life insurance policy she'd secretly taken out on Marcus 6 months ago. She just had to make sure there were no witnesses left to tell him what really happened. And that meant dealing with Zara permanently. Victoria picked up her phone and dialed the number for Westview Psychiatric Hospital. Hello, this is Victoria Wellington. I need an emergency pickup for a violent patient. 3 floors below, Zara had stopped crying. She'd cried for the first hour after Victoria locked her in the basement room. Cried for her father, for Mrs. Chun, for someone to save her. But crying didn't open locks or make evil stepmothers disappear. So now she was thinking, Zara might have been only 17, but she was Marcus Wellington's daughter. She had his intelligence, his determination, and his refusal to give up when things looked impossible. The room was small but not tiny, maybe 8 feet by 10 feet. The walls were concrete, but they weren't thick. She could hear the washing machines next door, which meant sound could travel both ways. The door was solid wood with a deadbolt, but deadbolts could break if you hit them hard enough. The problem was what to hit them with. Zara examined every inch of her prison. The cot was metal with thin legs that might work as crowbars if she could break them off. The bucket in the corner was plastic, useless. But the light bulb, if she could break the light bulb and use the metal fixture as a tool, maybe she could work on the door hinges instead of the lock. She was just reaching for the light when she heard footsteps in the hallway outside. Victoria's voice, talking to someone on the phone. Yes, she's extremely dangerous. She attacked me with a knife earlier and threatened to burn the house down. My husband is out of the country, and I'm afraid she might kill me in my sleep. Zara pressed her ear to the door, her heart pounding. How quickly can you get here? I don't feel safe with her in the house another minute. Paused. Westview Psychiatric? Yes, I know where that is. The one with the maximum security wing. Zara's blood turned to ice. Victoria was having her committed, locked away in a mental hospital where no one would ever believe her story, where Victoria could claim she was too dangerous to have visitors. She'd disappear forever. Zara grabbed the metal cot and started smashing it against the door with all her strength. The sound echoed through the basement like thunder. Help! She screamed at the top of her lungs. Someone help me. She's trying to have me committed. The footsteps outside stopped. Then Victoria's voice, closer to the door. Do you hear that? She's having another violent episode. Please hurry. Zara kept hitting the door, kept screaming, even though she knew no one could hear her. The basement was soundproof and all the neighbors were too far away. But she was wrong about that, because Mrs. Chun wasn't the only person who'd been watching Victoria Wellington. Robert Kim, Marcus's best friend and business partner, had been suspicious of Victoria from the day she married Marcus. Something about her had always seemed off. Too perfect, too eager to please, too quick to criticize Zara when Marcus wasn't around. So when Victoria had called him with her sob story about Zara's behavioral problems, Robert had decided to do some investigating of his own. He'd been parked across the street for 2 hours, watching the house through binoculars, when he saw the psychiatric transport van pull into the driveway. 2 large men in scrubs got out and walked to the front door. Robert had worked in corporate security before becoming Marcus's partner. He knew what a psychiatric pickup looked like, and he knew it was wrong. Zara Wellington was not crazy, but Victoria Wellington might be. Robert called 911 first, then Marcus. Marcus, where are you? Still 8 hours out. Marcus's voice was tight with panic. Robert, you have to stop her. Victoria's trying to have Zara committed. I know. I'm watching it happen. There's a psychiatric transport van in your driveway right now. Call the police. I already did. But Marcus, by the time they get here, she could be gone. These transport companies move fast when they think they're dealing with a violent patient. In the basement, Zara heard the front door open. Heavy footsteps. Men's voices talking to Victoria in the hallway above. She's down there, Victoria was saying. Be careful. She's already destroyed half the room and threatened to hurt herself. We'll take good care of her, ma'am. Do you have the commitment papers? Right here. Signed by Dr. Patricia Hawthorne. She's recommended immediate admission to your secure facility. Zara's legs gave out. She collapsed on the floor, staring at the door, knowing that in just a few minutes those men would come for her. They'd drag her out of here and throw her in the back of a van, and she'd never see her father again. But then she heard something else. Car doors slamming outside. Multiple cars. Running footsteps. And then Robert Kim's voice, loud and commanding, "LAPD, nobody move." The footsteps above her stopped. "Sir, we're just here for a pickup," one of the transport men said. "We have legal papers. Those papers are fraudulent." Robert's voice cut through the house like a sword. "This is an illegal kidnapping attempt, and you're all under arrest." Zara started crying again, but this time they were tears of relief. She heard Victoria's voice, no longer sweet and concerned, but sharp with panic. "This is ridiculous. That girl is dangerous. She needs help. The only person who needs help is you, lady," a police officer said. "We've got video evidence of you abusing this kid and locking her in a basement. You're under arrest for child abuse, false imprisonment, and attempted kidnapping. You can't prove anything. Actually, we can." And then Zara heard the most beautiful sound in the world. Her father's voice. "Where is my daughter?" Marcus had made it home somehow, 8 hours early. His voice was shaking with rage and fear and love. "She's locked in the basement, Mr. Wellington," Robert said. "Victoria had her committed under false pretenses. Get her out. Get her out now." Footsteps thundered down the basement stairs. The lock rattled and clicked open. The door swung wide, and there he was, Marcus Wellington, still in his business suit from the plane, his hair messy and his eyes wild with worry. When he saw Zara sitting on that awful cot in that horrible room, his face crumpled. "Oh, baby girl. Oh, my sweet baby girl." He ran to her and pulled her into his arms, holding her so tight she could barely breathe. But she didn't care. She was safe. Her daddy was here, and she was safe. "I'm sorry," Marcus whispered into her hair. "I'm so sorry I wasn't here. I'm so sorry I let this happen. It's not your fault, Dad." "Yes, it is. I should have seen. I should have known." He pulled back to look at her face, his eyes full of tears. "Are you hurt? Did she hurt you?" "I'm okay now." But they could still hear Victoria upstairs, screaming at the police officers as they put her in handcuffs. "This is insane. I'm his wife. That girl is mentally ill. She needs treatment." Marcus's face went dark. He stood up slowly, his hands clenched into fists. "Dad, don't," Zara said quickly. "She's not worth it." "No, she's not," Marcus agreed. "But she's going to pay for what she did to you. I promise you that." As they walked upstairs together, Zara leaning on her father's strong arm, she saw Victoria being led out in handcuffs. Victoria's perfect blonde hair was messy now, her makeup smeared, her designer dress wrinkled. When Victoria saw Zara, her mask finally slipped completely. The fake concern, the false maternal love, all of it disappeared, leaving only pure hatred. "This isn't over," Victoria snarled. "You'll never be safe. I'll make sure of that." "Actually," Marcus said quietly, "it is over, because you're never getting within 1,000 miles of my daughter again." He turned to the lead police officer. "What charges are we looking at?" "Child abuse, false imprisonment, attempted kidnapping, fraud, conspiracy." "She's looking at 20 to life, Mr. Wellington." Victoria's face went white. "And that's just the criminal charges," Marcus continued. "Wait until you see what my lawyers do to you in civil court." As the police car drove away with Victoria in the back seat, Zara finally felt like she could breathe again. "How did you know to come home?" she asked her father. "Mrs. Chun. She saved your life, sweetheart. She's a hero." "Where is she?" "I want to thank her. She's safe, hiding until we could make sure Victoria couldn't hurt her too." They stood in the driveway, father and daughter, watching the police cars disappear into the night. But Marcus had one more question. "Zara, why didn't you call me sooner? Why didn't you tell me what was happening?" Zara looked up at him. This man who'd worked so hard to give her everything, who'd trusted the wrong person because he wanted his daughter to have a mother. "Because I didn't want to worry you, and because I thought maybe she was right. Maybe I was just a spoiled brat who didn't deserve." "Stop!" Marcus cupped her face in his hands. "Don't you ever think that. You are my daughter. You are perfect exactly as you are. and anyone who tries to make you feel less than that will answer to me. But even as Marcus held his daughter and promised to protect her, neither of them knew that Victoria's story wasn't quite over, because Victoria Wellington had made one phone call from the police station. One call to a very dangerous man who owed her a very big favor. A man who specialized in making problems disappear. And Victoria's biggest problem was a 17-year-old girl who could send her to prison for the rest of her life. The nightmare was over, but the real danger was just beginning. 3 days later, Zara thought she was finally safe. She sat in her father's home office, wrapped in his old Harvard sweatshirt, watching him work on his laptop. Marcus had canceled all his business trips for the next month. He wasn't leaving Zara's side until he was absolutely sure she felt secure again. The DA says Victoria's bail hearing is tomorrow, Marcus said, not looking up from his screen. With the evidence we have, there's no way any judge will let her out. Zara nodded, but she still jumped every time she heard a car door slam outside. Victoria might be in jail, but her words kept echoing in Zara's head. This isn't over. You'll never be safe. Dad, what if she tries to hurt us when she gets out of prison? What if she comes back? Marcus closed his laptop and pulled Zara's chair closer to his. Baby girl, she's never getting out. The DA is charging her with attempted kidnapping of a minor, which is a federal crime. She's looking at decades in prison, not years. But what if? A loud crash from downstairs cut her off. Marcus was on his feet instantly, moving to the window. Stay here, he said quietly. Lock the door behind me. Dad, don't leave me. Another crash. This one sounded like breaking glass. Marcus pulled out his phone and dialed 911, then handed it to Zara. If I'm not back in 5 minutes, tell them we have an intruder. He opened his desk drawer and pulled out something Zara had never seen before. A gun. Dad, you have a gun? I've had it since before you were born. I hoped I'd never need it. His face was grim. Lock this door. Do not open it for anyone except me or the police. Marcus slipped out of the office, and Zara turned the lock with shaking hands. She could hear his footsteps moving carefully down the hallway toward the stairs. Then she heard voices. A man's voice, rough and threatening. Where's the girl? And Mrs. Chen's voice, terrified but defiant. I don't know what you're talking about. Zara's blood went cold. Mrs. Chen had come back to work that morning, insisting that she wouldn't let Victoria's evil drive her away from the family she'd served for 15 years. Marcus had hired extra security guards, but they were supposed to be watching the front gate, not inside the house. Lady, I ain't got time for games. Victoria Wellington sent me. I'm here for the kid. Mrs. Wellington is in jail. Not anymore. She made bail an hour ago, and she gave me a job to finish. Zara heard her father's voice, cold and deadly. Get away from my employee. Mr. Wellington, I presume. Put the gun down and nobody gets hurt. You first. Can't do that, sir. I got a job to do. Zara couldn't take it anymore. She unlocked the office door and crept to the top of the stairs, staying hidden behind the banister. She could see down into the living room. A huge man in black clothes was holding a gun on Mrs. Chen, who was pressed against the wall by the kitchen door. Her face was pale but fierce. She was protecting Zara even though she was terrified. Marcus stood at the bottom of the stairs, his own gun pointed at the intruder. This is how it's gonna work, the man said. You're gonna call your daughter down here. I'm gonna take her for a little ride. And if you cooperate, maybe I don't have to hurt the old lady. That's not happening, Marcus said. Then the housekeeper dies first. The man turned his gun toward Mrs. Chen. That's when Zara made the stupidest, bravest decision of her life. Wait, she called out, standing up at the top of the stairs. I'm here. Don't hurt her.
Zara, no.
Marcus shouted, but the intruder had already seen her. He smiled, showing gold teeth. There's my girl. Come on down, sweetheart. Nice and slow. Zara started down the stairs, her legs shaking. Let Mrs. Chen go. This is between you and me. Smart kid. Too bad you're not gonna stay that way. That's when Marcus moved. He lunged forward, slamming into the intruder and sending them both crashing into the coffee table. The man's gun went flying across the room. "Run!" Marcus yelled at Zara, but she didn't run. Instead, she grabbed the heavy crystal vase from the hall table, the same kind of vase Victoria had broken and blamed her for, and brought it down on the intruder's head as hard as she could. The man collapsed unconscious. Marcus looked up at his daughter in amazement. "Did you just knock out a hitman with a vase?" "I learned from the best," Zara said, helping her father to his feet. "You always told me to fight back when someone tries to hurt me." Mrs. Chun was already calling the police. Within minutes, the house was full of cops again, and the unconscious intruder was being loaded into an ambulance under police guard. But Marcus had questions that couldn't wait. How did Victoria make bail? He demanded of Detective Rodriguez, the lead officer on the case. "You said she'd be held without bail." "That's what we thought too, Mr. Wellington." But her lawyer argued that she was no flight risk, no danger to the community. The judge set bail at $2 million. She doesn't have $2 million. Apparently she does. Someone wired the money this morning from a Swiss bank account. Marcus and Zara looked at each other. Victoria had been planning this for much longer than they'd realized. "Where is she now?" Marcus asked. "That's the problem. She posted bail, walked out of the courthouse, and disappeared. We think she's fled the country." "And the man she sent after my daughter?" "Professional muscle for hire. Goes by Tommy the Tank Morrison. He's wanted in 3 states for assault and kidnapping. But here's the interesting part. He's talking." Detective Rodriguez flipped open his notebook. "Says Victoria hired him 6 months ago, not 3 days ago. She's been planning to get rid of your daughter since long before you went to Japan." Zara felt sick. 6 months? But why? "Money," the detective said simply. "We found emails on Victoria's laptop. She took out a $20 million life insurance policy on your father, Mr. Wellington. If something happened to him, and if his daughter was declared mentally incompetent or missing, Victoria would inherit everything." Marcus's face went white. "She was planning to kill me?" "Eventually. But first she needed to eliminate the witness who could expose her, your daughter. The basement, the fake therapy sessions, the attempted commitment. All of it was designed to make Zara look crazy, so no one would believe her when Victoria finally made her move against you. The full horror of Victoria's plan hit them like a freight train. It wasn't just about getting rid of Zara. It was about murdering Marcus and stealing his entire fortune. But Victoria had made one crucial mistake. She'd underestimated the love between a father and daughter. "Detective," Marcus said quietly, "what happens now?" "Now we find her. And when we do, she's looking at federal charges for conspiracy to commit murder, attempted murder of a minor, and about 20 other felonies. She'll spend the rest of her life in prison. And if you don't find her, we will. The FBI is involved now. She can run, but she can't hide forever." 2 weeks later, they found Victoria. She was living in a villa in Switzerland, spending Marcus's money and planning her next move. The Swiss authorities arrested her at a luxury spa where she was getting a massage and a manicure. When they brought her back to Los Angeles in handcuffs, she looked nothing like the elegant woman who had fooled Marcus into marrying her. Her blonde hair was messy, her designer clothes were wrinkled, and her ice blue eyes were wild with rage. At her trial, the evidence was overwhelming. Mrs. Chun testified about the abuse she'd witnessed. Dr. Hawthorne, facing charges of her own for falsifying psychiatric reports, testified about Victoria's lies and manipulation. Robert Kim testified about Victoria's suspicious behavior and the night he'd saved Zara from being kidnapped. And Zara testified too. She told the packed courtroom about the basement room, about being locked away like an animal, about Victoria's systematic campaign to destroy her mentally and emotionally. When Zara finished her testimony, there wasn't a dry eye in the courtroom. The jury deliberated for less than 2 hours. Guilty on all counts. The judge sentenced Victoria Wellington to life in prison without the possibility of parole. As the bailiff led Victoria away in shackles, she turned back one last time to look at Zara. But instead of hatred, there was something else in her eyes now. Fear. because Victoria finally understood what she'd been fighting against all along. Not just a teenage girl, but the unbreakable bond between a father who would move heaven and earth to protect his daughter, and a daughter who was brave enough to fight back when someone tried to destroy her family. Evil had tried to win, but love was stronger. 6 months later, Zara sat in the front row at her high school graduation, wearing her valedictorian medal and grinning at her father in the audience. Marcus had tears streaming down his face as he watched his daughter, his brilliant, beautiful, brave daughter, give her graduation speech. "Injustice may thrive in the dark," Zara said, looking directly at him. "But truth always finds the light, and when it does, love wins." The crowd erupted in applause, but Marcus only had eyes for his baby girl. She'd survived the darkness. She'd found her light, and she'd never, ever have to face evil alone again. Because sometimes, when the world tries to break you, you discover just how strong you really are. And sometimes, the people who love you will burn down the whole world to keep you safe. Victoria Wellington had learned that lesson too late. But for Marcus and Zara Wellington, it was the lesson that saved their lives, and taught them that no matter how dark things get, family love can light the way home. Moral: injustice may thrive in the dark, but truth always finds the light. Evil may seem powerful, but it can never defeat the bond between a parent and child who refuse to give up on each other.